My name is Alex Dolphin, and welcome back to another episode of Ex Ante. Today we're going to discuss the case of Hadley versus Baxendale. This case was heard in the Court of Exchequer in England in the year of 1854. Let's go ahead and jump into the facts. So the plaintiffs in this case, the Hadleys, were millers, so they would mill grains, and their machine depended upon a crankshaft. This crankshaft broke, so they needed it fixed. So they contracted with a shipping company, which is our named defendant here, Baxendale, to ship this crankshaft off to the machinist in Greenwich to have a new crankshaft developed. Well, the shippers said, hey, we're happy to do this for you, have it here before noon, and then we'll get it delivered to Greenwich the next day, and then we'll get it back to you as soon as possible. So they had a contract for the shipping of the crankshaft. Ultimately, the shippers didn't get that crankshaft back to the Hadleys for a much longer period of time than anticipated. It was like 7 to 9 days. Because it was the only crankshaft that the millers had, the Hadleys. Millers is their description of their title. The Hadleys is their last name. Because it was the only crankshaft that the Hadleys had, they weren't able to conduct their business or make any money. So they lost a lot of profits. The Hadleys were angry about the lost profits, so they brought a suit claiming that it was a breach of contract and that the Baxendale should be responsible for all of the lost profits. So the issue before the court was, are lost profits too abstract to be recovered for in a breach of contract? In this case, the court ruled in favor of Baxendale and said that they were too abstract. This is because it was unforeseeable. There's an element of foreseeability in breach and damages, and because this wasn't foreseeable to the Baxendales in their delay in shipping, the Baxendales could have thought, hey, maybe the Hadleys have another crankshaft, or maybe they have another way to operate. The Hadleys didn't make it explicit to them this is the only way they were operating and that they were going to lose a lot of profits if shipping was delayed. And for that reason, the court ruled in favor of Baxendale and said that the Hadleys can't recover for the lost profits. The quote that I want to read from the case says, "It follows, therefore, that the loss of profits here cannot reasonably be considered such a consequence of the breach of contract as could have been fairly and reasonably contemplated by both parties when they made this contract." So that's the ruling of the court. Lost profits in this case weren't foreseeable by Baxendale when they breached the profit. Therefore, when they breached the contract, therefore they're not responsible for the lost profits in damages. So just to have a little bit more of a discussion of the case, you got to think this isn't really economical because it allows someone to breach, and it's very possible that the Baxendales had a pretty good idea that this was the only crankshaft if they were sending it off and trying to get it repaired. This is an expensive piece of machinery. It allowed them to just breach and be lazy without any type of consequence. Was it foreseeable? I don't know. That's left up to the court. And in this case, they said it wasn't. But I think in a lot of scenarios like this, we could envision it being foreseeable. Nevertheless, what the court's saying is that it should have been explicated in the contract. This should have been clear to both parties at the outset. And that's the big key from this, is that it incentivizes parties to be very clear about foreseeable consequences of the breach, and then let's agree to them and assent to them in the contract. So that's a little bit of the rule that's gleaned from this, and further consequences in contract law is that if there are consequences that are foreseeable to one party, not foreseeable to another, it's important that you make that clear in the bargaining of the contract. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you later.